Hi, I'm Shelby, and I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about how to make marinades. So marinades are a really great addition to our food here, where it can add a lot of flavor back in, and it's low effort and makes it easier and cooking a little bit more approachable. So what we have right now is our thawed chicken in this case, but you can use whatever protein you want with these marinades. They're super versatile. You can also marinate your vegetables in them, your tofu in them, your chicken, whatever. It's just something to add a little bit of flavor. So a lot of the stuff here is what you can use for various different marinades. The best part about marinating is that it's a mix and match type of situation. You usually want to have something like a vinegar base here. So we have balsamic or we have apple cider. You can also use white vinegar if you have it. A little bit of mustard and some sweetener. In this case, I'm using local honey. And we also have sodium, soy sauce for some of them. I like to use a citrus in mine, so I have this old orange and this lemon that I'm going to juice. Also, you can use your garlic powders or you can use fresh garlic, whichever one you prefer. I have about 3 chicken breasts that I'm going to do marinades for, so my ingredients might look like less than yours. If you're cooking for multiple people, feel free to make more marinade. If you're cooking for less people, use a little bit less and just cover the one. So again, marinades are super versatile and they're really a great way to add some flavor to whatever meal you're making. I'm going to be making a marinade that I'm going to use tonight, so I'm going to take 2 of my chicken breast here and I'm going to put them in this bowl. But if you're not doing that, a baggie and back in the freezer, always a great bet. And I have a pair of kitchen scissors that I just use to cut open my chicken. Anytime I use my scissors with meat, I always wash them just to make sure I don't get any salmonella or cross contact. That is something that is super important when you're cooking and cooking safely. Then I push those out of the bag, throw them away. I throw them away the night of so my house doesn't smell like chicken juice. But this bowl is a little big for my 2 chicken breasts, but it's fine. It's the size that I had. And I'm going to be making the apple honey garlic marinade. So first thing I'm going to do here is cut my apple. And anytime we cut, we want to cut away from us. And we also want to make sure that we have a claw so that we don't accidentally cut a finger off. Now, this recipe calls for 2, but since my apple is so big, 1 is totally okay. And I'm just going to cut it into smaller slices. An apple is actually a really popular item to marinate with in Asia. So in a lot of Korean food, they use pears or apples as part of their bulgogi marinades. And it adds just like a little bit of sweetness to it. And the apples I got were just what was on sale at the store. It really doesn't have to be complex. It can really just be that simple. And since, again, I'm only marinating 2 chicken breasts, I might use only half of this apple, and I think me and my dog will snack on the other half. So next we're going to pour in our base, which is olive oil in this case. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons. I'm using a ½ tablespoon here. And again, since I'm doing only 2 chicken breasts, I'm going to use a little less, so I'm about halving the recipe. So I did 1½ tablespoons of olive oil. And we're going to do 1 tablespoon of honey. Now, I've been told that if you do your oils before your honey will not stick in your little measuring spoons. So feel free to take that hack with you. And if a little extra spills over, that's okay too. And my garlic here is huge, so I'm just going to use 1 big garlic. And again, we really want to make sure that we're doing that claw method. Another thing that helps with chopping is just keeping the tip of your knife down and then using the base to rock back and forth. And you can just do that until you have the size that you like, hopefully without the skins. And I like my garlic a little bigger so it doesn't faze me. But again, if you don't like the taste of garlic, don't add garlic. If you prefer garlic powder and you're like, I'm not interested in chopping my own garlic, it makes my hands smell, don't do it. I like it because I like the freshest taste and I like as much garlicky taste as possible. But that's the beauty of cooking, that we can all do something different and it can appeal to everybody. So again, I'm just rocking back and forth until this is probably considered a dice, not a mince. But in my case, again, I'm pretty happy with it. And I just like to slide my knife like this, make sure I'm not cutting myself and getting all of my little garlic bits. And for the regular recipe, you need about a tablespoon of fresh thyme. Thyme is something that I find to be really potent, so I actually don't use as much as most recipes call for. But if you want to use it fresh, what you can do is you can take your thumb and finger and pull down the stalk to get all of those leaves off. Or other people like to just throw it all the way into like soups and things and pull out the stalks later because they are a really big aromatic, so they have a lot of flavor to them. And I'm just gonna do a quick little chop to make it a little smaller. And if your thyme doesn't look great, what you can do is you can set it on a baking tray in your oven at like the lowest heat it will go and dry it out, and then you have just made dried thyme. So I always find that I don't use as much thyme as I need. So anytime I'm left with a big container of it, I like to dry it out and then use it later for other recipes. And so we're going to mix all of this together, and I'm going to put it in my fridge and let it sit until later when I'm going to cook it. At least 15 minutes. If you can do the night before, that's great too. But the really wonderful thing about marinades is that they come together and they work really nicely regardless of how much time you give them. The longer it sits, the more flavor you'll have. But again, it's a super easy prep thing to make the food just a little bit better. So I'm gonna show you how to make a balsamic marinade, and I have this really nice liquid measuring cup that I just put my bag on so I can pour all of my stuff in and then just put it in, seal it up, and throw it in the freezer for later. So the first thing that we're gonna need is some olive oil. I am doing this for one chicken breast or one fillet, so I'm going to quarter my recipe. So I'm gonna use about half a tablespoon of olive oil. And then in this case, we will also need a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. And so a 1/4 of that is pretty, I wouldn't say I'm very good with my numbers here, but I'd probably say like 2 tablespoons is 1 ounce, a 1/4 cup is 2 ounces. So about, again, half a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And then I also need some honey. Same boat again, just doing that 1 tablespoon. And I need some Dijon, some garlic powder, and salt and pepper to taste. So there our honey goes. Now we need about a teaspoon of mustard. I like Dijon. You could use spicy, you could use yellow, whatever you have. But I liked the excuse of getting some Dijon mustard since I like it in my day-to-day life. And I'm just gonna take a teaspoon of that. And I know I have been halving the recipe. I like the taste of mustard, so this won't bother me. If you don't like mustard, don't use that much. If you want to use an alternative, mustard is kind of acidic. It has a vinegar taste, so just add some more balsamic vinegar or add some red wine vinegar, some other flavor that you like. And then this calls for garlic powder. I'm going to chop up a little bit of garlic and do salt and pepper. I also think that this will taste really good with some orange in there, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit of orange juice into my marinade. So now that I have everything in, I'm going to take one of my chicken breasts and I am going to cut them out of the package and I am going to put it in the package. So again, I've been using these kitchen scissors for all of my chicken. I'm going to wash them afterwards, making sure that they're not touching any of my other items. I just am going to slip my little chicken into from one bag to the other. And if you do touch the chicken in this process, that is okay. Just go wash your hands before you do anything else. I've pulled my chicken off and I am just giving it a nice coating. I like to give it a mix. If you have littles in your house, this is a great job for them, squishing everything together, giving it a nice rub. And the best thing about marinades is that they can marinate for 15 minutes, they can marinate for 15 hours. I will most likely be putting this in my freezer, and then I'll have pre-marinated chicken for me to pull out and eat later in the week. Okay, so for this honey garlic marinade, we're going to need a lot of garlic, some honey, some soy sauce, apple cider vinegar, salt and pepper, and a little bit of an oil, in this case, unsalted butter. If you don't like butter, if you're not going to use butter, you can use any neutral oil. I like olive oil the most when I'm doing my marinade, so that's what I'm going to do. But this recipe does call for butter, and feel free to use it if you have it. So as I've been saying, something really great about marinades is that you don't have to just use them for meat. You can use them for whatever. And in this case, I'm going to be making the full marinade recipe with what I have, so that I can marinate some vegetables in it as well for my sheet pan later today. And if you don't have a garlic press, you can always just press down on your garlic and crack that skin, peel it off. Or if you're not interested in chopping garlic, doing it yourself, the jarred garlic works just as well. Garlic powder also works just as well. I am a garlic girl, so I very much enjoy having as much garlic as I absolutely can in my marinade. So I am going to kind of do a rough dice, so even bigger pieces than what I've done before. And again, if you are chopping things and you don't feel comfortable with your knife, always just keep a hand away from it, and if you've gotten to slicing it, you can always rock back and forth until you get the desired size garlic or onion or whatever vegetable you'd like. So I want a pretty rough chop like that. You can always, again, if you don't feel comfortable using your knife, just slide that directly in. I like to swipe my knife so I get all of this as well. But again, do what you're comfortable with and do what's safest for you. So we have 4 cloves of garlic, and now I need a 1/4 cup of honey, which is about 2 ounces. I'm gonna do that just here, eyeballing it. Next, I'm gonna need about a tablespoon of, again, my neutral oil. In this case, I have olive oil on hand, so I'm going to use my olive oil. And now we're going to use about a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I think I'm a little low on soy sauce, but that is okay. I will make do with what I have. And then the best part about using the soy sauce is that you don't have to add salt to it, because soy sauce is a predominantly sodium-based item. We need a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, which if you don't have apple cider vinegar, that's totally okay. Most grocery stores sell it, but if you don't have it or you don't like it, you can use whatever neutral vinegar you have. And then we're going to season. For seasonings, I'm using a white pepper, which is something that I absolutely adore. and it's just white pepper from the Asian grocery store. If I also had them, I would add my green onions to it as well, just for another flavor profile. And I'm just giving that a nice little mix here. But I'm going to take this, and I'm not only going to do one of my chickens with it, I'm also going to pour it on my vegetables for later. Okay, so I'm going to pour a little bit of this in here. And then I'm going to keep the rest of that for another marinade. And again, if you have a little one, this is always the fun part, being able to squish it around in the bag. And I'm going to take this, push the air out of it, and then I'm going to go and freeze this for the next time that I need a quick and easy meal.